Welcome into episode 28 live. Ramie and Drew. I am Ramie Makloff. That is Drew Flaggy. We're a couple of Milwaukee comedians who like sports and other shit. And we are live with you after a Bucks victory 113-106 over Los Clippers, as I heard my guy Kevin Holden tell me on Telemundo tonight, because WMLW is not on YouTube TV, which I found out tonight. Drew Flaggy, I learned that tonight, but I also learned they are on Telemundo, and I learned that at halftime. So I was able to watch the second half, but that's not important. I can rant about that later. That was with no Giannis and no Chris, Drew, and I see you got your stupid bandana on tonight. That means you're
Playoffs.
excited. That means that was, dude, that was a big win, an impressive win. I was ready to be like, no Giannis, no Chris, whatever. Like, just ready to like swallow that pill and accept that loss. And the Bucks were not ready to do that and turned it on at the end of the third quarter and never looked back.
Yeah, when it was down to like 5, I'm like, all right, like I can stomach like lose by less than 10. But then it's like, okay, we do this almost every single show. You know, they always say on TV, it starts with the defense. You know, the offense starts with the defense. Malik Beasley on defense causing absolute chaos in the fourth quarter. That was incredible. Jumping passing lanes. It sucks he got that ticky-tack foul. James Harden is the biggest foul merchant in the history of the NBA. Actually, the word foul merchant.
But you know what?
It's fucking Christmas with fouls for him.
I gotta say, when James Harden heated up there in the second half, he was getting buckets. He wasn't just going for fouls. He was getting buckets, dude. And sometimes it looks like he's just going up for fouls, and the ball just goes in, and you're like, what the how did he just do that? That was some vintage James Harden, what we saw in the second half there. And that's when I was ready to just throw in the towel and be like, yeah, hot James Harden, no Giannis, no Chris. What are you gonna do? Take the L and fight another night.
I was like, yeah, we contained Kawhi Leonard pretty well. Zubac wasn't really a menace down low too much or anything. Like I was like, all right, like I was kind of ready to just be like, okay, this one's done. And then it's just, man, the way they fought back. I would like to know if anybody, rewinds this or whatever, and like they start when they're getting out of their cars. I want to know if anybody was at the stadium and how loud it was in there, because on TV it seemed electric, and just it was awesome seeing Bobby Portis and seeing Pat Beverly just absolutely playing like this was the last game of the season. Like those two guys in the fourth quarter, for as much shit as Bobby Portis got all year long from the fans, and criticisms of being just off and on, and what Bobby are we getting on a nightly basis, man, this was like what we expect Bobby Portis to do. This was like video game Bobby Portis out there. Just dude couldn't like miss. He was pulling down big boards. He was actually bothering guys on defense. He was fantastic. Bobby was great tonight.
And it's I didn't have the volume up very loud because I love Kevin Holden. Actually, I'm going to try and get Kevin Holden on the show tomorrow, the Spanish play-by-play announcer for your Milwaukee Bucks and anchor and sports director over there at CBS 58. But I didn't know what he was saying because yo no hablo español. And so I turned it down kind of low and just watched the game with my eyes. So I couldn't tell how loud it was in there either. But man, I was getting excited here at the Makloff household. My dog was scared already because of the thunderstorms, and he was more scared by my clapping and whooping at a couple of those 3-pointers. And you're right about Malik Beasley, dude. He was a dog on defense, just chasing dudes. He was just annoying on defense for that entire second half. And you're right. That's what turned this thing around in the end. Defense led to offense.
Well, I think they set a pretty good defensive tone to start the game too. Like I tweeted that I really like, and I'm not saying I want this to be like an every night thing or this needs to be an over and over again thing. I just like the minutes that Pat Beverly and Damian Lillard play together on the floor, is just having two guards, and Dame kind of becomes more of like a shooting guard, like primary scoring option. I do really like that. I'm not saying that needs to be like a fixture of it. I'm not saying anyone goes to the bench. I'm not saying they change this up for the playoffs. I just like those little minutes where Pat Beverly and Damian Lillard are in there together. I think it's really entertaining. But early on, because you couldn't find how to watch the game or whatever, dude.
I was illegally streaming it, but then I tried to cast the illegal stream to my TV, and that crashed everything, and so I couldn't get the illegal stream back up after that. I tweeted angrily. I shook my fist. I thought I was just shaking my fist at the clouds, Drew. You know what I mean? To no avail, because what are you going to do? You know, when the world is against you, what are you going to do? But a couple people told me, hey, it's on Telemundo. So I went and watched it. I watched the second half on Telemundo. Thank you. Gracias to everybody who pointed me in that direction. And it was a fun watch. It was a fun, I don't know what Kevin is saying, but I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah. I listened on my regular TV. It was man, the game was fun. This was a fun one. Like I was saying, Pat Beverly early on just bothered Paul George, and he was just getting under Paul George's skin. That was Paul George was what? He was the second leading scorer on their team tonight. It was Harden first. So, like we contained Kawhi Leonard and Paul George pretty well. So like James Harden, who I think is like their third option at this point, they forced him to be the guy that was going to beat us. If someone was going to beat us, it had to be him. He was stepping up. It just wasn't enough. Like all the role players on the Bucks bench just were phenomenal. And I was a little bit worried when it got down to the 5-minute mark, where like it was like right before Brook came back in. I kept looking at the bench and I'm like, where the hell is Brook? He hasn't been in a while. And man, I'll say game management for Doc Rivers. Him bringing Brook in when he did, Brook looked like he had the freshest legs, and he got that good stop on Kawhi Leonard at the rack. Like, I don't know if they ruled it a block or not, but man, he bothered it enough to get it out. And it changed the shot enough. Like it was that Doc Rivers managed one hell of a game without the best player probably in the league tonight.
Yeah, man, that's what makes this such a big win. And you asked about who was the leading scorer. Paul George and James Harden each had 29. Okay. So they were tied for the game high. But they held Kawhi Leonard to 16, and that was a huge block there right off the glass at the end of the game by Brook Lopez on Kawhi Leonard. And yeah, man, you have to. And I know I don't know about you, Drew. I'm more, because I'm old. I'm more like mainstream media, and I don't even consume too much of that. You're more podcast and like and alternative media. I don't know about you. I haven't seen a lot of flowers being thrown at Doc Rivers on this post All-Star game break that the Bucks have been on since the All-Star game, because the defense, and I know like they didn't hold them under 100. They were on a streak of holding teams under 100. But man, without Giannis and against this Clippers team, I'm on a curve of grading the defense. This is among the better performances I think that they've had to hold that team to 106 and get the win without Giannis and without Chris out there. Doc Rivers deserves a lot of credit right now, and I haven't seen it, like I said, on the ESPNs or other places where I go for my sports talk. I don't know if you've seen it anywhere, but man. And I'm not going to put up the funny graphic again, Drew, but the defense, I think, is for real under Doc Rivers.
Without Giannis being out there, so that's one of those things where you were missing one of the two guys who have the lowest field goal percentage against on our team. So, if you're looking at two guys that would be candidates for our defensive players of the year, it would be Giannis and Brook. So you were missing a big guy down low to also bother shots and be another potential shot blocker. So you had to get defense out of smaller guys. The other thing was Doc went very small on defense, like in the fourth quarter. Like AJ Green was in there for a while. I think he had Portis and Gallinari in there. And like he even ran a stretch, I think, where he had like Dame, Pat Beverly, Connaughton, maybe Portis. Like I forgot who, like there was a lineup in there where I'm like, these guys are going to get just absolutely swallowed up. And they held their own. Like this was up and down. Everybody, even like I see like, Ty Windish keeps asking, what is Gallinari's role on this team? The guy's not making baskets. He's in the right spot a lot of times to even just box out and stuff. But I mean, that's not good enough to be like, he needs heavy minutes like he played tonight. But you know what? Maybe he filled those minutes to give Brook his legs back for that last big push that we needed.
And I don't think we've talked about this before, Drew. You needed better bench play to get you to the playoff when the playoffs come around. But once the playoffs do come around, the rotation tightens. I don't think you're asking for high leverage minutes from Gallinari in game 80, 81, 82 if you're still jockeying for position, and certainly not in a playoff game.
No, yeah, he's not going to be a guy that we're going to see a lot of. So it's like anybody who wants to complain about like the buyout market and stuff, like you don't need these guys. They're there to fill a role in case something bad happens, or like you hit a point where you're like, fuck it, let's just throw something at the wall. Like the rotation shorten up. He's going to be on the roster in case of an emergency. I would rather have a guy like Gallinari out there than some undersized dude who just, I don't know, has just problems all over the court with everything where he can't score. He's not really a rebounder. I would rather have Gallinari in there or on our bench in case. Maybe that's just based on reputation.
Yeah, but we talked about the Gallinari signing, like when the trade deadline came and went, and like the signings of what's the word that I'm looking for? Guys that were waived or whatever and re-signed. I say that again. Yeah, the buyouts. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. I was drawing a blank. But when that came and went, and people were like, "Oh, that's all they did was Pat Bev and Gallinari," I was like, I know we live in a world where everything has to be the best or the worst, but like that's what you're getting at that time of year more times than not is guys like that. And quite frankly, I've gotten from both of them about what I'd expect, which is like not the greatest. Neither of them is Michael Jordan, but also they've filled a role and provided something useful for a Bucks team that's gone on a hot run right now. Like I said, you'll be leaning on Pat Bev less come playoff time, and you'll be leaning on Gallinari almost none come playoff time.
I don't necessarily agree that we're not going to be leaning on Pat Bev. We're not going to be leaning on him offensively. But, man, when he gets in that game, he's like another Bobby Portis. You know how Giannis said that Dame is is just like Giannis, but a smaller version of him? Pat Bev is a smaller version of Bobby Portis. Like that, it's just those guys, the energy they played with and everything. I think that Pat Beverly was absolutely the blood transfusion this team needed to wake it up. He was, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it,
I agree.
Like an injection of personality, a veteran presence. If you want to call him a fucking liquid IV or something, I don't care. Whatever woke this team up, whatever got them off the mat and made them kind of have more of an identity, and maybe to take the PJ Tucker thing and say maybe it'll let these guys realize that there are dogs on this team. Pat Beverly absolutely is doing that for them. He has quickly become one of my favorites.
The way he, and I said this after the who was it against after the Timberwolves game when he got under Wolves fan skin with his tweet about their head coach. The way the Bulls reacted to Pat Bev in that game over the weekend was, again, on full display. Pat Bev being one of those guys who you love when they're on your team, but you absolutely can't stand when you're playing against them. And I love having that type of dude on the team. And I said when they made the trade, I said he brings more than just whatever you see in a box score, or maybe even if you're like a basketball nerd and you watch tape to see, he brings more than just that. He brings some of those intangibles, and like you said, an injection of some energy and some personality and some dog to this team that I don't know that they had before.
Yeah, he's been an absolute pleasure to watch. He's fantastic. Yep, exactly.
Jim Van Vonderen says Pat Bev is a talker, needed a talker. Doc said Bucks didn't talk enough. And yeah, man, you need a little crazy. I don't care what sport it is, you need a little bit of crazy on out there on your team.
Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. I mean, man, like I said, I started listening to his podcast now, like, because of, like, dude, he's awesome. I like the insight and like the attitude he brings to it, and I kind of like his perspective on the game and stuff. It's really good. You said something about, is Doc getting his flowers at all for like changing and turning this team around?
Yeah.
Bucks are starting to get talked about on some of these podcasts. Actually, Nathan Marzion got mentioned by Tommy Alter on JJ Redick's podcast for talking about Brooke Lopez's defensive numbers. The dunker spot, those guys, Nekias Duncan and Steve Jones, they talked about the Bucks and how we were starting to wake up after the All-Star break and everything. And they talked about him, I think, late last week. And then sure as shit, now JJ Redick wants to talk about this team. And it's, the Celtics have separated themselves from the whatever.
But actually, I did see a tweet quoting JJ Redick after his comments about Doc Rivers last week, giving Doc some credit about he was saying, you got to give him credit for the defensive turnaround. And he said he's confident that he'll get this offense clicking and get the most out of it that's to get out of it once everyone is healthy and out there on the court. So, and you and I both said, like, we went kind of hard on Redick for those comments that he made about Doc and just being part of the circus that national NBA talk can be. But we both also, we cushioned that with saying, like, he's normally not part of that. He's normally one of the guys pushing back against it. And he can be, for lack of a better term, fair and balanced and objective. And so I do have to say that was the one guy sort of in the mainstream that I heard saying that Doc deserves some credit and deserves a little bit of confidence for what's going to happen down the stretch here.
Real quick, I have the highlights playing on my TV right now from this. I didn't realize, because I didn't look at the box score because I was so into it. Bobby Portis was 12 of 18 from the floor tonight with 16 boards.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's what you need, man. That's
incredible.
We talked a lot about this bench when things weren't going well and how that needed to change. And that had to start with Bobby and Pat Connaughton to a degree too. But Bobby's, I mean, that's your sixth man. Say that again.
Yeah, Connaughton played well tonight. It looks like Jay Crowder might have gotten hurt though, because Zubac fell on his knee or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
There was what was it that I also saw? Early in the game, a lot of people were talking about Malik Beasley's missed shots and stuff like that. They didn't really. Beasley wasn't able to get open a lot. Like, it's not like he was missing open shots. Like I think the 6 shots he missed in the first half, they were all contested. Like, the first shot he took was late in the shot clock, and they chased him off the perimeter, and they got another guy to step up on him, and he kind of took a goofy leaning jump shot. It's just the Clippers played really well without Giannis and Middleton out there to just be like, okay, now who's going to kill us from the 3-point line? And it was going to be, if it's not Dame, it was going to be Malik Beasley, and they just didn't give him anything to work with all night. The way the Clippers, this is going to sound funny, the way the Clippers played defense against Malik Beasley tonight, it was very reminiscent of how the Denver Nuggets, when we were in Denver, played against Dame and Chris. It just took away every good shot from them. But
they were giving him a lot of attention.
The first 3 that Malik Beasley hit was huge. He hit it in a huge moment. So not really gonna.
That's a really good Clippers team that you just went and did that to, and they had pretty much their full arsenal of players, which to my surprise and to a lot of people's surprise, they've had for much of the season, because you have 3 guys that aren't necessarily all that reliable when it comes to being out on the basketball court on a night in, night out basis, but they had all 3 out there tonight and have had all 3 out there for much of the season. And you've seen how good they can be when all 3 of those guys are out there. And to get that win without your best player and your MVP candidate, and with Chris Middleton still on the bench, a lot of people thought he might be able to come back tonight, but it looks like it's going to be another game or 2 before Chris is back. But man, I don't want to sit here in the moment and rank best wins of the season, but this is up there in the top 3, top 5, Drew, especially in a season where, big wins and feel good wins were hard to come by pre All-Star break.
I think I'm gonna put this one up there as my number one.
Really?
Right now, I think I am gonna put this as a number one because we've talked about it so many times. We know how dominant Giannis is. We know how efficient Chris has been this year, and to do this basically short 2 All-Stars against a two-time Finals MVP, to do this against Paul George, who has had an incredible career, James Harden, who whenever he gets to a new team, the first season's, pretty damn good, but then, he's in LA, he's going to find the strip clubs eventually, he's going to go out, he's going to, girls are going to play with his beard, and he's going to be all, he's going to start whining next year when they don't win the championship this year. He's going
to say, when they start playing with the beard, it's over. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
I don't know about you, Jared, but it's, I don't blame them. You know what I mean? Once they get the fingernails in there, it's over. Like I'm powerless as well. I don't blame James Harden.
I blame him. He can't get it done in the playoffs. Well, none of his wear fucking playoff bandanas.
See, I thought we could find common ground, just all being men. You know what I mean? Just all being dudes, being bearded dudes.
I think both of us have better chins than James Harden. Have you seen him since his when he doesn't have his beard? Dude, he's got like a little baby. Like his adult chin hasn't grown in yet. It's crazy.
Yeah, the beard was a good choice for him. I said this a couple of weeks ago when pictures of a made-over Matt Eberflus, Bears head coach, surfaced in their press conferences before the scouting combine, and he grew in a beard, and I was like, it's like, like a short beard that's like really lined up, like really tight, and I was like, I've seen that before. As a matter of fact, I do that. That's where you line up the beard in a way to create the appearance of a jawline where there is not one. Yeah, Drew's, we're both rocking it right now. I'm not saying,
yeah.
So I agree that the beard was a good call for James Harden. I agree with you 100%. That his jaw is not, it should have a beard on it, really.
Yeah. His face needs to have a beard. Man, that I'm going.
Keegan Ford says James our beardless James Harden looks like an AI generated human being.
It's like one of those. It's like one of those like security things to like prove that you're not an AI. Where they just take a picture of his face and like the line cuts off right here, and it's like, okay, now click on all the parts of the picture, every square that has face in it, and there's just like his tiny little weird chin that's not. And you're like, do I click at the one lower? And you're like, fuck, it said I'm a robot. Like it's. you gotta call the bank and reset your password, and you're like, I didn't know how long James Harden's face is supposed to be without the beard.
But man,
can I do the one that's like, hey, show me where all the stoplights are? Can I just do that one? I'm good at that one.
I'm never sure with that one. Am I supposed to just click on the part that has the lights or the whole like infrastructure? You know what I mean? Because there's like a thing that comes across and the post. Like, am I supposed to just click the boxes that have the lights? Nobody cares about this, but that's always my dilemma when I'm doing the old robot test. I do, but I said this earlier, man. Like, yeah, weird, weak chin and all. When he gets going, he is scary, dude. When he gets going, and you're right. Like it's a ticking time bomb. It's short shelf life. He has a shelf life of like a bunch of bananas. You know what I mean? In any given location that he's at. But when James Harden is going, like, God, dude, he struck some fear in me there in the second half. Where I was, like I said, I was just like, okay, this is over. You have no Giannis, no Chris, and this James Harden showed up tonight. Right. Like, it's a wrap. Let's get ready for the post game show.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's that. Like, I actually joined into this thing. I clicked on the link before we, like, when it was going back and forth between us being down by like 3 and 5. So like I was already sitting in the backstage thing here, waiting for you to get on because I'm like, yeah, this is fucking over. And then like the more and more it happened, I'm like, oh, don't come in. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, like that, like over and over again. Like I was clapping in my house, dude. Like my neighbors are probably like, what the fuck was going on in there? But
and not only did they come back and win that game, they took control of the game and like pulled away, put the foot on the throat of the Clippers. And again, not to harp on the issue, but without Giannis and without Chris Middleton, they ended up. I mean, they had. I ran upstairs. I was watching it down in the living room, and I ran upstairs to my little office here where I do the podcast. They were up 11 with 28 seconds left. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Probably some free throws or like a random 3-pointer, but they had control of the game. They ended up winning it by 7. It's weird to say, Drew, because I know they were down most of the game. I don't think the final score was as close as maybe what actually transpired on the court there in the fourth quarter. Like they absolutely took control of that basketball game there at the end.
I think they showed it. It was 3 minutes and 32 seconds. They held the Clippers without a basket towards the end of the game. That was like right when Brooke got into the game. And then I think Norman Powell hit like a shot.
Yeah.
And that was it. But yeah, it was like a 13-0 run. So it was fantastic. Like it came at the right time of the game. And it's just the Clippers didn't have enough time to come back and win it. That was, yeah, I'm gonna still say I think that it might be as a team win, the best win of the season. Like, yeah, we got the Giannis setting the franchise record against the Pacers. That was a cool game. I might be a little bit biased on that one because I was at that. And then Tyrese Halliburton won, I think, 6 championships in that series. But Giannis got his game ball out of their locker room. Those dumb bitches. So that was pretty cool. I actually really, this isn't like the most glamorous win, but I really like the Timberwolves win. I thought that was great.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
That was a good one right out of the, especially with the whole Shaq telling Dame, what needs to happen on the team and being the first game on the road after the All-Star game. That was a great win, I think. Obviously beating the ever-living shit out of the Celtics so bad that they sat all their players. Did Golden State sit all their players coming out of the half?
No, they didn't.
Did Steph Curry put a towel on his head? Do they think maybe something of a respectable comeback? That's weird.
No, they kept playing. Yeah, that is weird.
That is pretty weird. And they didn't turn that off. They let the Celtics. They just really let the Celtics.
No, they let them go ahead and continue that ass whooping on national TV.
Wow,
yeah,
everyone got to see.
They forced everyone to watch that or just change the channel. They're like, fuck it. Jim Van Vonderen. Am I getting that right? Van Vonderen? Yeah, I'm getting that right. Says it was a stay close game until the fourth quarter. Then they played great defense in the fourth. AJ Green was big. Yeah, man. He did it again, and I think he's pretty solidly locked up a role for this Bucks team off the bench as what I would say like the 8th, 9th guy off the bench. Maybe yeah, I would say probably 9th guy for this basketball team, which in a playoff series you might have to go 9 deep. And man, he's hit some big shots, played some good defense. Derry Bird has solidified himself as a piece of this team moving forward, at least for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably, especially with the defensive effort, if he could get a little bit better with ball handling, I think, and maybe convert himself into maybe more of a Pat Connaughton role, where he could maybe be a backup point guard for a little bit, maybe like small stretches. Like I'm talking next year or something. That would be a super affordable piece to keep around on the team. I think of all the rookies or the young guys, sorry, not rookies, but like the young guys between Andre Jackson and MarJon. I know it seems like a lot of people really want MarJon to be the guy. I don't think it's going to be MarJon. I think that AJ Green has absolutely taken that spot from both of them. Andre Jackson will probably be somebody that'll turn into something also down the road, maybe next year defensively. Maybe he picks up a lot of things from Pat Beverly because Pat Bev has said on his podcast a couple times that like he really likes Andre Jackson. Like, he's talked about like his rookies that he really likes, his young guys. Maybe he works with them in practice on like his defensive sensibilities and everything like that. But as far as it goes the rest of the year, I think it's going to be AJ Green. He's fantastic. I like a lot of the minutes that he puts in there, and like defensively too. There was a drive late in the game where I think it was Kawhi went against him, and like I think Kawhi got the basket, but it's one of those that a younger guy might have overreached or stepped in front of him and caused a foul, and AJ Green didn't, but he made it a tough shot on the guy at least. And yeah. I mean, I guess that's all you can ask when you're going against a guy like Kawhi Leonard. It's
dude,
just
he continues to answer the call. Like you said, it's all you can ask. He can, like, whenever he gets an opportunity, he seems to take advantage of it, and that's what you ask of guys in that position. You know what I mean? Nobody is ever really safe when you're talking about that area of the roster, and what you need are guys who really value every second that they get out there on the court to earn the next second on the court and really show you something. And he's done that more than anybody else. I know, like, coming into the season, dude, MarJon, people were comparing him to, like, there was some crazy like Dame Lillard said, like, he was, I forgot what he said. Did he say he reminded him of a young Dame Lillard? Like, he reminded of himself when he made some crazy comparison. Like, there was a lot of MarJon hype, and this is the year where he earns the spot on this team. And even Andre Jackson Jr. got a little bit of that when he went on a little bit of run, but none of those guys have been as consistent and seized the moment and the opportunity to the degree that he has. So I think, like I said, he's pretty solidified in there for right now. He has to keep doing it, but I think he's pretty solidified in that spot right now.
I do think that AJ Green might have a little bit easier of a time finding his niche on this team as just being essentially the white guy who shoots threes. We're not asking you to asking you to dunk. We're not asking you to really defend wings, even though he's been doing it. Like, we're just kind of asking you to be another Grayson Allen or Pat Connaughton, or, you know, take your fucking pick. Like, it's just be, you know, that guy. Be like a Luke Ridnour. We can just go back. And that's totally fine because Giannis is going to create space for you. Dame's going to space the floor. You got Brook down low to take care of anybody you chase off the perimeter. It's like he kind of lives in a small quadrant of the entire court, which is fine. MarJon, I think, is expected to be more of like an ISO shot creator because he's not really a spot up three guy, even though that's what he's best at. But as far as, like, I think a lot of people, and I was one of them definitely, that thought that MarJon was going to be having the same kind of trajectory as being like the Chris Middleton, or like a Chris Middleton prototype of being like a lengthy kind of wing that can shoot threes, but he can also probably get some efficient buckets inside the arc. And just MarJon, he's just not, the progress isn't there right now. And it's like, it might be a couple years, but I also am starting to think that maybe it's not going to be here because he's I think he could package up.
My internet's getting choppy here, Drew, but I want to get in a couple of comments before we wrap this thing up. This is from Dad. He says, Ramie, are you back in MKE? First of all, if you were my dad, you would know. Yes, I am. Have been for a while. This is episode 28, Dad. Where have you been? I've been in Milwaukee for a minute. Thank you for checking us out. Follow, subscribe, like, rate, review, and tell a friend about us. This is from Steven. He says, Ramie, greetings from Sacramento, my guy. And greetings back to you. Both Drew and I, fans of what they're putting together out there in Sacramento. And we say, light the beam. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to us. And sorry about Drew's headband. And my old co-host from Score North, Judd Zulgad, says, hey, Robbie, the next Bucks game is exclusively on AM radio. Dude, when I first saw, I'm just going to get this off my chest because I've touched on it a couple of times since we started the show, Drew, but I didn't want to make it the main crux of the show after a win like that. I saw the game was going to be on WMLW, and I was like, oh, cool. Over-the-air basketball. That's great. Everybody can watch the Bucks. You know what I mean? Regardless of who you are, class, race, religion, whatever. Everybody can get free TV and watch the Bucks on WMLW like back in the old days. So I turned on the TV. I went to my YouTube TV because that's what I have for cable because it's fucking 2024. And who's got regular old cable anymore except for Drew Flaggy? So I turned on YouTube. So I turned on YouTube TV and they apparently YouTube TV doesn't carry WMLW. So I sent an old man shaking his fist at the clouds tweet out there on the old Twitters. And a couple people were like, oh, why don't you have an antenna? Why don't I have an antenna? It's 2024. That's why I don't have a fucking antenna. Who has an antenna in 2024? Just because the game is on old-timey regular broadcast television doesn't mean we all have to revert our technology back to old-timey television to fucking watch it. What is this? Why do they make it so hard to watch games in 2024? Why can't I just turn on my TV and watch a game, Drew?
I don't know. It's everybody that I know that was all like the Bucks are coming back to like WMLW are all people who already didn't want to watch the Bucks. So I think the rest of the like all the people on like my Facebook, like all their timelines, they're like, oh, cool, everyone can watch the Bucks. I'm still not gonna do it. And it's like, I hope you guys are watching Valley Sports because this is ridiculous. Also, like, I know every one of these fat fucking idiots, they're gonna be at the stupid parade when we win the championship. They're gonna be down. Will. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, Giannis was fantastic or something. They're the guys that still spell Brooks' name with an E at the end. They're the guys that, oh, there's one guy I know who just calls Brooke Lopez old big ass in the way. It's like, of the other team scoring, like
the best defensive center in the league.
God, it's actually probably Rudy Gobert this year. Honestly.
Whatever, close enough.
You got your Minnesota friend who's listening, so I mean, I'll at least throw some flowers to the Timberwolves. One of the few teams that I won't.
That is true.
Talk. That's I won't openly shit talk the Timberwolves. I like
love
a lot
you,
of
Judd. Miss you.
Yeah. Like, and also you got your buddy from Sacramento. I don't openly shit talk them either. Like, I like Sacramento. I think they're fun.
Yeah, we like Sacramento. We like both those teams.
We're fans of both.
See, I'm not just some sellout who roots for whatever market I move to. I just happened to move to markets that had good, easy to root for basketball teams. All right. Yeah. And fun to join fan bases. Okay. And I still root for them, and I never stopped loving the Bucks. Everybody's like, oh, Ramie just goes wherever the money is. Yeah, I go where the money, but that doesn't mean that my heart still isn't in the game. You know what I mean?
I would have honestly
gotta go where the money is, but you know.
I would have been really concerned about you if you went to like New York and became a Knicks fan. That would have been concerning. Like if you went to Boston and you were all like whatever they say over there, I think it's probably racist, honestly. I don't know what they say with the Celtics. Like you start using words that you shouldn't use. And then that's their fans though. You know, they got that big dope in the middle of their thing. What's his name? Fat or something.
All right.
And then they like, or it's like you go to like LA, you become like a Lakers fan.
That's just, probably like, true.
What? You said what?
No, I mean, yeah, no, I didn't say anything. But I wouldn't go to one of those fan base. Those are not teams that are easy to root for. I root for teams that are easy. Notice I haven't become a Packers fan, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to alienate anybody. We are in Milwaukee, and we are trying to grow this thing. And with that, Drew, because my computer I don't know if it completely fucked up the podcast right there, but it really froze up while you were going on your rant about how racist Celtics fans are. So I think we should wrap it up and ask everybody, if you haven't already, to follow, rate, review, subscribe, whatever it is you do on all the platforms. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Check us out. Tell a friend. That's Drew Flaggy. I'm Ramie Makloff. This has been Ramie and Drew. Drew, any brief final words before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, one thing we didn't bring up is the Bucks outscored the Clippers 40-25 in the fourth quarter.
Amazing. Great win. You're right. It might be the best win. It might be the best win of the season.
Without Giannis in clutch time. Like in clutch time. Yeah. Giannis has the most clutch time points in the NBA this year. It was Dame early on. Then they started just doubling up Dame on every possession, and then the ball just went to Giannis. And it's like now Giannis wasn't there, and then we go 40-25. We win the quarter that heavily. That, like, man, it's impressive. It's an impressive win, and I know that like the Clippers, the travel back to backer, like, yeah, that sucks. But everyone's got to do it. We don't get flowers for it when we win or lose a back to backer. They don't get an excuse either, especially being basically identical. Well, no, we have identical records now, right? I think we both have the same record because we won, they lost. So I think we had one worse loss than them.
I believe you are right. I can't pull up the standings quick enough. I said any brief final words. Those were not brief, but good points nonetheless. And I appreciate you. And we will talk again tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to attempt. I don't mean to put him on the spot by just saying this on the air. This is unprofessional of me. I'm going to attempt Kevin Holden of CBS 58 and Spanish voice of the Bucks, the Brewers, the Packers, all of it. So we're going to try and catch up with him, my old buddy, on the show tomorrow on episode 29 of Ramie and Drew. This has been episode 28 live after a big Bucks win, maybe biggest of the season. We'll talk to you next time, and we thank you for checking us out.